What's up guys, this is CSB, and today I want to do a new video for y'all. Introduction into the new Pokemon TCG format, the new rotation. So first of all, let's just go ahead, bow our heads, and have a moment of silence for Night March. That bastard is dead. No more. Alright, so, getting into the new format, I want to talk about the type of decks you kind of can expect, different things to look forward to, and just what we're getting into. First of all, I think this is going to be a real mega heavy format, and you'll see when I go into the decks and everything that I expect to be common or good coming forward. But we're in a position where we can start using mega Pokemon again. We don't have to worry about the Joltik with the DCE doing 200 damage. We can set up a little bit, get rolling. To go with that, we also don't have to worry nearly as much about the prize trade. So because of that, EXs can become more dominant and more heavy in this format. We also have a little bit of room for more creativity. You're not going to have to be countering Night March so much, or worry about every other deck you go up against being Night March, and there are just certain things you can't play in a Night March dominated format. So moving on, I'm just going to go over a handful of decks that I think have potential for next season, or this season. Some of them you're probably going to see way more of than others. Some are kind of just my personal opinion, things that I'm going to be testing, things like that, but just kind of a good layout. And then eventually I will be doing like full-on deck profiles for a majority of these. I don't know if I'll do it for every single one, but definitely the ones I'm more interested in. And these decks aren't necessarily in any particular order. The first two are probably the more tier 1, at least initially. But after that, everything is kind of up in the air. So first up, we've got Mega Rayquaza. Pretty much everyone knows what this is. And the thing with Mega Rayquaza, and the next deck we'll go over, is these are decks that they're not like brand new. They've been around for a little while. Mega Rayquaza's Roaring Skies. It's just we don't have to worry about hitting Joltik hitting us for weakness and everything like that. That's a big deal now. We can actually run Rayquaza relatively well. And some of the highlights of running Rayquaza, and one of the things that's going to bring it to the top of the format, at least initially, is it has the potential to be very fast. You can get a whole bench and a whole big mega attacker set up by turn 2. Even turn 1, you can get the ball really rolling. So to go with that, just the explosive starts, the huge damage potential. Any type of damage that is scalable on a decent term, like it's not like a coin flip or something like that. You can control how you scale. Just gives huge room for potential. So doing something like base stuff off your bench that you can control for the most part, at least on your turn, it's great. Like being able to swing and knock out pretty much anything with the full bench, which is relatively easy to do with this deck, to go in with it being consistent. And then finally with the Mega Ray, it's just a big body. 220 is kind of hard to deal with without being another Mega or hitting for weakness. It's kind of hard to deal at 220. So you're at least going to be able to get 2 turns. And with the Mega Ray, you can get them going pretty quick. Alright, next up is Mega Mewtwo. Mega Mewtwo, obviously, another Mega. There's a lot of similarities with Mega Mewtwo and Mega Ray, but they are still very different. With Mega Mewtwo, you still got the potential for huge amount of damage, and it's scalable based off energy. And you've got a little bit of a variance with it, because you can scale based off your energy and your opponent's energy. With the Mega Mewtwo deck, there's a lot of room for versatility. Generally with the Mega Ray and things like that, you pretty much have a pretty consistent list of what you want to do. Whereas with the Mega Mewtwo, you can go just pure Mega Mewtwo, Mega Mewtwo Y and Mega Mewtwo X, Mega Mewtwo Garbodor, different things like that. And because all of your attacks are colorless and things like that, you can splash in some different things like Zip Strike or things like that to deal with other threats in the metagame. Another big thing with Mega Mewtwo is damage change. While obviously it's not listed on this card, regular Mega Mewtwo has the ability to damage change. And if you run a Shrine of Memories, basically, if a big Pokemon is not one-shotting you, you're just taking all that damage they just did really hard to do and erasing it and potentially putting it back on them and taking knockouts like that. The other big advantage with Mega Mewtwo is, with a very limited exception, things like Mega Gardevoir and things like that, there's really a limited amount of Pokemon that can hit Mewtwo for weakness, including Mega Mewtwo himself can't hit for his own weakness. Alright, next up we've got Volcanion EX. Volcanion EX is one of the more new decks, clearly, because it's Steam Siege, the new set. But one of the big things about the Volcanion deck is speed. That's pretty much paramount. I mean, you can get this deck rolling pretty quickly, and just the synergy it has between its cards, whether it be Volcanion EX and Baby Volcanion, things like Scorched Earth, or Flareon EX if you want to go that route. There's so many different options that you can just start discarding energy for Steam Up, then putting it back on with Volcanion or Baby Volcanion. And going with that, I mean, you can run a whole line of big, heavy-hitting non-EX attackers to kind of control the prize trade in that sense. And going with that, from everything I've seen from Volcanion, it can be very consistent. Pretty much, you know what's going to happen, you know what to expect. It doesn't take a whole lot for them to get rolling in the way they want to go. Alright, next up we've got Greninja Break. Greninja Break is in a kind of a weird spot going forward. I still think it's a very good deck. Potentially could be a very great deck. There are a lot of things that kind of shut it away. But when it goes, it goes. You know, and it's another one of the decks that have exclusive non-EX attackers. Maneuverability, like free retreat, things like that, being able to move things around. Bulky body, I mean, 170 is in that weird spot, especially from a non-EX, that it's really hard to take out. And then, you know, low energy counts, like, Greninja can start shooting damage at 60, 70, 80 amount of damage for 1 energy. And the rest of it's coming off ability base, which is discarding energy. And there's a lot of way to recycle that energy back and things like that. They're huge and hard to deal with. And once it gets set up and going, it can just unload. I mean, clearly the deck is good. It got second place at Worlds. I mean, it potentially got better with the Talonflame inclusion. So that's just something to keep in mind moving forward. Alright, next up we've got Mega Caesar EX. This is one of my new personal favorites moving forward, and, you know, this deck's really started to pick up steam in the last 2 weeks or so. It's really just started to, like, blow up, and people are talking about it more, and there's more dialogue about it. The thing with Mega Caesar EX is its speed. Like, it can move very fast. It's a low energy attacker. I mean, its attacks only cost 2 energy. It's pretty bulky. It's 220, so that's more than a Mega Mewtwo. It's pretty consistent. I mean, you don't do a whole lot. You don't really have a secondary attacker, maybe a Cobalion or something, but Scizor is your attacker. So you can get him up, get it loaded really quick, and get going. You're pretty much two-shotting everything consistently. And then finally, the big thing about Mega Caesar that's got everyone talking is its energy removal capability. Like with its attack, Iron Crusher, you can discard special energies or a Stadium, which just pretty much cripples Mega Rayquaza and Mega Mewtwo. Put on top of that, it resists Mega Mewtwo. So you have just a lot of different options, especially if you're running like a Magearna variant. If you've got that steel energy on Caesar, then damage change. While it still removes the damage off of Mega Mewtwo, he's not being able to put that back onto Caesar. So you're still getting your 2 shots and things like that. And, you know, you've got all sorts of things that buff up Mega Caesar, or, you know, you can run Assault Vest, different things like that, you know, just to keep him around. He's a really annoying, like, high volume attacker that's just going to be there, and he's going to keep coming and coming and coming. I mean, Special Energy is pretty much the way the format's gone, and potentially could continue to be like that. So you can just start dealing with things quickly and be annoying with that. Alright, next up we've got Xerneas. For the picture I included Xerneas Break. Personally, I feel like that's probably the best route to go with it. There's also the Rainbow Road. But Xerneas Break functions similar to how like a Darkrai Giratina deck would, and things like that. I mean, your damage is scalable. But to go with that, you know, Xerneas, it has a speed. I mean, you get a Geomancy Xerneas out first turn between like max elixirs and things like that. You can get up to 5 to 6 energy by turn 2, which is phenomenal. So the starts can be very explosive. There's huge damage potential going back to that scalability on the damage that you can control. It's a non-EX attacker, so it's taking 2 prizes from EXs, and it's only giving up 1 prize. It can be very consistent. And then the versatility, like there's so many different options you can run with the Xerneas. You can go the Dragon route, you can go the Rainbow Road route, you can go straight fairies, different things like that. I mean, you can run Garbodor. There's so many options you can run with the Xerneas. And it's not included on here, but it only costs 2 energy to attack. So for 2 energy, you could potentially be doing up to 200, 210, 220 the amount of damage off of just a 150 practically stage 1 Pokemon. So that's pretty good. And this is a deck I think you're going to start seeing a lot of. I don't know how ultimately competitive it'll be, but I think it's going to be everywhere. Alright, next up we've got Water Box. This is a deck, I'm not exactly sure how much you're going to see it, but I think it has a lot of potential. Obviously it loses Seismitoad, and that was, you know, one of the main cogs in it, but the main pieces of the puzzle are there outside of Seismitoad. You just look at the Manaphy's, you just look at the Articunos, Max Elixirs, Energy Switch, things like that. You can still move Water Energy around, get the free retreat, and start dealing with different situations between Glaceon EX, Regice, and things like that. Rough Seas, Mineral Pump. I mean, there's just a lot of different things to deal with. You can go up with a non-EX attacker. You can go with an EX attacker. You can block EXs. You can block evolutions. There's just a lot of things like that. So that deals with the maneuverability and the versatility. And generally, I've seen these decks, they're just very consistent. Like being able to get 3 energy out on your first turn and dealing upwards of 100, 120, 150 damage, depending on the type of version of it you're running. I mean, we could either see Kyogre variants of this, Primal Kyogre, even Mega Gyarados. There's a lot of different options, so I'm not quite sure what people are going to go with, but I still think it's a deck to keep an eye out for. Alright, next up, we've got Yon Mega Break. Again, this is, you know, new to Steam Siege. This is another deck. I don't know how good it actually is, but you're going to see it. People want to play with it. People want to get it out there, start running it. It's relatively easy to do. It's pretty cheap. You know, considering some of the other decks around here, like Mega Ray. I mean, it's a pretty cheap deck. Basic concept. You know, being able to swing for 100, 120 damage for free is phenomenal. I mean, if you can get that out consistently, you're gonna be doing pretty good, especially early with how the deck works with Force the Giant Plants and things like that. You're able to do that. This deck also has, depending on how it's ran, a fair amount of versatility. I've seen a lot of going the pure stage 1 route with like Zebstrika, the Eeveeloutions, and Eeveeloutions, and like Zoroark and things like that. So there's a lot of different potential, get you out, things like that. And largely you're working with non-EX attackers, so you know you're good with the price trade and everything like that. I mean, I've seen some versions of this deck literally run no energy. That's probably not the best way to go about it, but that's potentially there. So again, I don't know how good this deck actually is, and we'll see, a month from now where Yon Mega Break is. But it's a deck you're going to see, and you need to be prepared for it when you do see it. Alright, next up, these next few decks are definitely ones that I'm not sure how good or popular we're going to be, but they're decks that I think have potential personally. First up, we have Mega Sceptile EX, or just even Sceptile EX. The thing with Sceptile, and you have, Force the Giant Plants and things like that, you can start moving fast. Like, you can start evolving on turn 1 into a Mega, and start, distributing energy and healing, and you get a big 220 body, so it's bulky. You start retreating with float stones and things like that. You're recovering damage, you're doing this, that. It's really hard to deal with, especially if you're running different variants, with Ariados, and you're doing poison damage, so you have that working with. My personal favorite is Mega Sceptile, Ariados, and Violet Plume, getting the item lock and things like that. Mega Sceptile, if nothing else, is super annoying, and it's hard to deal with. Again, this one's more of a personal preference. Alright, next up we have Primal Groudon EX. Primal Groudon's another one. I think it has huge amounts of potential, just like stupid potential. But it's a deck not a lot of people are talking about. Primal Groudon's a deck that, it's always been around. Obviously, it's a little different now because we don't have as much support through fighting. We don't have Karina, battle compressors, different things like that, to accelerate the fighting synergy and all that. But we still have Groudon EX. We still have Carbine Break. We still have Wobbuffet. We still have things like that. I mean, you can go the Clawitzer route if you want. It's only 4 energy. That's not entirely ridiculous amount, but you're dealing stupid amount of damage. You're one-shotting pretty much everything as long as there's a stadium in play. And not only that, Primal Groudon has the Ancient trait, which lets it stall for a little bit. Primal Groudon is sitting on your bench. They can't touch it. They can't Lysander. They can't Crushing Hammer it. None of that. It is just going to sit there until you get it set up, and you're ready to bring out Primal Groudon. And it's one of the few Mega decks you don't have to run the Spirit Link. You can throw Assault Vests or this, that, or another on it to deal with taking even less damage. But yeah, the damage potential is huge. You throw on some strong energies and things like that, you're one-shotting everything, Wailord EX included. And then obviously, Primal Groudon's a big 240 bulky body, so he's really hard to deal with. Next up, I've got Raikou, Magnezone, just a lightning deck. I think this one is going to be very format dependent, or meta dependent. The more reliant we see Mega Rayquaza and things like that, the better Raikou's going to be. It hits for weakness. Excuse me. Easily, with Thunderlance, just by having the energy to do Thunderlance, you're one-shotting Rayquaza with a non-EX. Plus, with its ability, you're taking 20 less damage. You throw other things on there, fighting Fury Belts, Assault Vests, this, that, or another. He's really hard to deal with. He's practically Pokemon EX between his attack and his ability. So he's really good. Fighting's not really prevalent right now, other than potentially Primal Groudon. So you don't have to worry about weakness. He resists Steelix. And with this kind of deck, you wouldn't be running special energy anyway, so you wouldn't have to worry about removing the special energy. And then with Magnezone and things like that, you can start piling on stupid amounts of energy by turn 3, maybe at the earliest, maybe 2, depending on how lucky you get. And then this is the kind of deck you don't have to run any EXs. You can run Octillery because you can run Rough Seas. You have that working off each other. Magnezone's a non-EX. Raikou's a non-EX. Or you can throw in EX attackers like Jolteon EX or Pikachu EX. Different things like that, But Raikou is your attacker. It's your primary. But again, this is dealing with the scalable damage. So the potential is huge, especially with all the lightning support. Alright, next up we've got Yveltal EX. This is, tried true classic. Everyone knows Yveltal. He's been around. He's in expanded. He's in standard. You do what you do. You load on the dark energy, you load on the double colorless, and you just start plowing damage. Like Evil Ball this, you've got Baby Yveltal, you got Fright Night Yveltal, all sorts of things. You can throw Darkrai in there. I mean, there's not a lot to talk about with Yveltal. I mean, it is what it is. It does what it does. And then last up, we've got Zoroark, Quad Zoroark. Zoroark has a great ability, fantastic attack. It's very fast. It's consistent. And it's, a non-EX attacker for low energy. I mean, and while it is scalable, it's more scalable. You don't control the scale. But in a format where Rayquaza is going to be very big and things like that, your opponent sets the scale for your damage. And there's also other Pokemon that you can throw in there, so you're not relying strictly on Zoroark. But then you also have Zoroark break shenanigans. Foul play, you can copy things and start messing with opponents and things like that. I think Zoroark has potential. So it's another deck. It's again, dark decks or decks, regardless of how good or not they are in a current meta, you always have to know what to prepare for because they're going to be there. And then finally, the potential. As we talked about earlier with the creativity potential in this format, I mean, anything's possible. I mean, granted, look at Worlds. Audino won. Everyone saw it. No one believed it. No one even knew what the card did. And it won Worlds. Mega Audino EX is a world champion. Night March can't say that. So yeah, I mean, and that's the fun thing moving forward is just the room, just from the jump. Be creative, to have potential, to try different things. But that's all I got for y'all guys. Let me know what y'all think. What decks are y'all excited for in the format? What decks are you curious about? Would you be interested in me giving a deck analysis and things like that? Let me know down in the comments below. Give me a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And check back with me, and I'll be doing deck profiles and analysis and all that moving forward. But so that's it, and I will see y'all next time, guys.